All right, so moving on, Colossians chapter 3. What about your work? Work is your way of providing for your family. Okay, now this is absolutely, positively God-honoring. Scriptures talk about one who doesn't provide for his own is worse than an infidel. In other words, one without any relationship with God whatsoever. And so we're to be providing for our family, and not just sitting back and expecting to hit some sort of a life lottery thing where God just drops money for like manna, but rather the manna thing was just for that period of time while they were traversing a desert, okay? And but still with that, there was some work involved of picking up the manna and preparing it, and even the special needs for the weekend where they were collect more so that they wouldn't, so that they would have a Sabbath of rest. Okay, and we covered this verse, Deuteronomy 8:18, but you'll remember the Lord your God, for it is he who is giving you power to make wealth. Okay, we're going to think a little bit on that. We already looked at the second, or the last half of the verse, that he may confirm his covenant which he swore to your fathers as it is this day. And we talked about how that we participate in God establishing his covenant because he's enabled his covenant to be established by him working through us. Okay? And how the children of Israel didn't just come up to the Jordan River and cross over and just travel down the highway of life like going down I-95. Well, hold it. Bad illustration. I-95. But rather, yes, there would be hardships and hazards and effort involved, work, but God would bless their efforts to grant them that covenant promise of that land. Okay? And so they were part of that, establishing that covenant by their efforts. Now let's back up. He who is giving you power to make wealth. Right now in America, we're going through this goofy wrestling match that shouldn't be, considering we've been here 250 years. However, our universities and all have been taken over by ones who are progressives, which is not progress actually, but rather their idea of progress is to move us towards socialism, communism. That's not progress. Okay? And that's what's being thrust upon us by our state university colleges and liberal universities and colleges. Don't write off all colleges because there are some conservative colleges out there that train their students well and teach them the truths about Americanism as well as Bible. And so back to this concept of making wealth. Right now in the state schools, such as, I have a hard time believing this, but I mean the Ivy League schools that have produced incredibly wealthy people, and incredibly wealthy people have deposited their children in those places, and now those places are speaking strongly against wealthy people and saying that wealth is a terrible thing, that wealth should be taken from the wealthy and divested among the poor, who will vote for the one who is proposing we give this to the poor. Okay, you'll get a lot of poor votes. Yeah, good term. Double entendre there. Poor votes. Poor people votes, but voting poorly. And so let's do a little dive into this concept, since we are talking about a biblical view of work. All right? Now get a hold of this. Who gives you the ability to get wealth? God does. I'm glad one of us understands this. Thank you. You get a star for your paper there, David. Maybe the rest of you. He's the A student. Okay, he got it. The rest of you, you'll have to you have to fight back for your GPA. Have the right attitude toward work. Okay, instead of the ones who are bitter and angry towards those who have made wealth. Have the right attitude towards work. I told you, I believe, about me having to overcome that attitude towards work when I absolutely positively hated to pick weeds in the garden. But my dad, thought it would be a great thing, and so he bought 200 strawberry plants. Okay, our garden was somewhere around at least a half an acre, maybe more. And he got these seed strawberry plants, and half of our garden was now strawberry patch. And he had me plant all these strawberry plants and all these rows and all this stuff. And our farmer neighbor donated some bovine excretion to fertilize with, but that also carried with it weed seeds, and so I had a big weed pack around my strawberry plants. It was more than I could conquer, okay? But I hated work. Well, if that's your invitation towards work, rescuing the strawberries later on would take quite a while. So this concept of making wealth, there are a lot of people who are being told to hate wealthy individuals because you're not giving up your wealth. You need to be giving your money to me, says the man with 3 mansions, and also an elected official in our Senate, okay, thinks that we should impoverish all the wealthy people and not reward them for their work, their effort, their talent, their mind, their mental abilities to invent things that benefit all of us. We're better off with them keeping the wealth and them using the wealth to develop an internet system that operates from space. Get this. There are some crevices in this earth. We call it Appalachia, okay, where they can't get internet service from a wire coming down their street. Oh, but they can shoot it down from a satellite that Elon put up there. How did he get it up there? He risked his capital to put it there. Okay, so making wealth is good. Notice this. The ability to get wealth is God-given. Did you see that in Deuteronomy 8:18? It's God-given. How the seed of the ability is God-given. Now, it's up to the individual to plant that seed and what motivates that individual and whether they're interested in honoring God with that seed that God gave them to plant. And by seed, I'm talking about the talents, the health, the strength, and the opportunity is opened up by God. I mean, somebody gave, and it was God, who gave the intelligence that you have in order to work the job that you've got. Somebody gave you the strength. Somebody put you in the place where the opportunity would open up for you. I mean, you could have been born and raised up the Amazon River someplace where the only thing to do there is to catch piranhas before they bite you. But no, you were born in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and able to learn so that you could get wealth. Okay? And so let's appreciate that. Let's thank God for that. Let's praise Him for the jobs we've got, even though I'll grant you, there are some aspects of every job that are not exactly pleasant. Some are less pleasant than others, but it's all in your mindset. Do I need to give you the illustrate once again of my friends who are honey dippers sucking out poo out of septic tanks and how they love their jobs? Okay? You can find joy in the oddest places. Okay, so socialism destroys the work ethic. Okay, making wealth is good. The ability is God-given. What does socialism do? Well, when it comes into a country, part of socialism is to institute atheism. Okay, everywhere that it's tried. Okay, China, Russia, Cuba, all of those places, whenever socialism came in, religion had to go out. All right? They wanted no mention of God. Now, why in the world is that? Well, because if you spend time in your Bible, you'll come to find out that God blesses people with the ability to get wealth. And they want everyone to not be acknowledging a creator, but rather looking towards government as being the provider. Okay? That's the big difference, or one of the big differences, especially when it comes to the theological differences between socialism and capitalism, is who is the provider. And so socialism has to get people to lose their freedom. Okay? And you do that by controlling their assets, controlling what they have. And so socialism destroys this work ethic. What motivation do people have to work if they don't get rewarded for it? And the reward is to increase their standard of living, to make it possible for them to get a nicer car, a nicer house, better food, to provide a better life for their children, and to be able to inculcate in their children the dream that they can stand on mom and dad's shoulders and go farther and have it even better. Well, socialism robs that by making a person enslaved to the state, controlled by the state, scared of the state, having to hide from it. And so, why should I work hard if I don't get any more for this? This is the alarming thing, and why you might have heard in churches in the past, preachers speaking against unions, labor unions. Okay, because the preachers look upon the labor unions, and listen, you're looking at a guy who spent 2 summers of his college years working in steel mills. I saw this firsthand. The way that labor unions operate is almost like socialism, where you have the top people who are in the know about all the information, and then the workers down below, they don't know anything about anything. They just vote on a contract every once in a while. It happens, but they get a payday. And if their payday increases, they're happy. And in order to keep their payday increasing, they soon come to find out that the labor union is protecting itself more than the workers. And yeah, they'll supposedly go to bat for you. But what I saw is while they're batting, they're striking out at a lot of pitches. They're missing a lot of pitches. Oh, whether intentionally or not, I don't know. But such thing as you don't have to do that. That's below your pay grade. You don't have to work on that. Yeah, here's a messy job, and yes, you are an individual where, for example, when I worked in pollution control at the basic oxygen furnace, sometimes the equipment would break, and an electrician, they called them motor inspectors, an electrician would have to, because high power is going through those things, and if a wire broke in there, an electrician would have to fix it. Now, you would think that that was his job. Well, yes, it is his job. But there were many times when electricians would say to the boss, and the boss would say, okay, unit number 3 is not working right. We got to shut that down, and somebody's got to get in there. Now, you're up to your having to wear protective gear because you're going to be coated with iron ore dust, okay? And that stuff will get into your pores. And for two months after I left the steel mill, I was getting red out of my shirt collars in college where it was still coming out of my skin, okay? But the electrician said, I'm not doing that on my regular shift. Now, if you give me overtime, I'll do it for that. And so we're talking 1980, yeah, 1980. And so that electrician was getting approximately $18 an hour in 1980. Okay? That was fantastic. I was getting $12 an hour as a laborer. Okay? And so my electrician said, no, I want to do it on a double. That way I'll get time and a half for doing it. So it's 18 plus 9 dollars an hour. Anybody quick with math? You're talking $27 an hour instead of $18 an hour. I would have been happy with the 18 an hour, but no, he jacked it up to 27 an hour, and he's protected by the union for that. Okay? But I couldn't complain a whole lot because the guy then said, I need a laborer with me, and it was like, okay, hey, Woodard, you do anything after the next shift? And I was hungry for a college student. I would need money. I was wanting money, and so I stayed over for that shift. He buried me in iron ore dust, though. But it was, but nevertheless, that made me get what, $18 an hour? Yeah, no, yeah. But anyway, socialism destroys it because you don't have any motivation if you're going to stay impoverished. No matter whether you work hard or work soft, you get the same pay. So why work hard? Socialism makes wealth for the ruling class by enslaving the working class. Okay? The ones who get wealthy in socialism are the oligarchs, and it's Vladimir Putin and his buddies who have gotten incredibly stinking wealthy. Okay? Vladimir Putin is a multiple billionaire because he has stolen money from Russia and squirreled it away. And in order to do that, he had certain cronies who were in charge of it. And so it's a mutual scratching of backs system. And they do this by keeping these poor working people impoverished and still working for their bowl of rice. I'm sorry, I switched from Russia to China there, didn't I? Okay, same thing happens in China. Work all day for a bowl of rice. Oh, but the chairman, he gets to sit in the nice chair. Okay, now notice in parentheses, the same thing capitalism is accused of. All right? This is what the socialists in our government who cry for impoverishing the wealthy, okay, they end up making wealth for themselves, okay, by motivating those with less, the working class, to rebel against the others, the ones who the socialists in our country, and as a result, what's the guy's name? Madani, new governor or mayor of New York City. He and his cronies will become incredibly wealthy, while the city of New York goes downhill rapidly. He'll keep the peons happy by giving them a little bit more, but that's just to keep them in their place and so that they'll be on call when we need a riot. And so socialism makes wealth for the ruling class. That's what they accuse capitalism of doing. And saying that the poor people can never climb out of poverty. No, in socialism, the poor people never climb out of poverty. Capitalism, the working class can climb out. You want to get out of it? Build a better mousetrap. Okay, create a business. We should be celebrating the presidents who come up with policies that encourage people to start their own businesses and grow those businesses, and make it so that they can create wealth for themselves and their families. And we should be celebrating that sort of politician. Okay, here's a fascinating thing. That fellow's name's Walter Wilson, or Williams, Walter Williams. Prior to capitalism, the way people amassed great wealth was by looting, plundering, and enslaving their fellow man. Capitalism made it possible to become wealthy by serving your fellow man. Okay? In capitalism, you become wealthy by providing a service that people want, like, and will come back for more. Okay? That's how, you know, and you name me a company and I'll show you how they did this. Okay? For example, Hobby Lobby. People wanted to decorate their houses. They also wanted to enjoy hobbies. And so they, first off, start making picture frames in their garage. And people found out, hey, they can make picture frames. A lot of people, if they tried it, it'd be all crooked and wonky and, you know, but no, they created this business. And next thing you know, they opened it up for matting, how to mat these, how to install these pictures in those frames, and then how to bake the pictures. And it just blossomed from that. Created a business of something that people wanted, and people keep coming back and buying this stuff, even though their husbands complain about how much of this stuff they've got in their house. Every wall is decorated, and every cushion, every chair has a cushion, and well, hey, the more the merrier. But nevertheless, okay, this is a rewarding, nice thing. Everybody wins, okay? When the business owner makes something that somebody wants, happy customer, and that customer pays, happy owner, happy workers. Everybody should be happy, all right? Versus, I'm going to get my group of serfs who work my fields usually, but it's not time for working the fields. Instead, we're going to go out and pillage and plunder in order to get our wealth. By the way, the story of Robin Hood, that was a tax revolt. Okay? Read it closely. It was a tax revolt. It was not, we're going to soak the rich. No, the rich was the king who was overtaxing everybody. Okay, in the story of Robin Hood. Some people like to twist that story and try to make it sound like it's against the wealthy class. No, it's against the tax of the government. Okay, moving on. The purpose of work. Okay, I think we talked a little bit about all this already. Why do people work? Not just to please people. Okay, here we are in Colossians chapter 3, verse 22. Slaves, in all things obey those who are your masters on earth, not with external service, as those who merely please men, but with sincerity of heart, fearing the Lord. Okay? Slaves, this is how to be a slave. No, the Bible here is not endorsing slavery. The Bible is not trying to stop slavery or start slavery or increase slavery. It's just dealing with slavery. And if you're a Christian who happens to be a slave, look at this is how you live as a Christian under that condition. Okay? It is not endorsing slavery nor protesting against slavery. There are other things that address that. But here with this, it's addressing the concept of work. In all things, obey those who are your masters on earth, not with external service as those who merely please men. So our work is not, the goal is not to just please men, okay, but to rather please the Lord. If your goal is to please men, that's who you're worshiping. That is who you are serving, is people. But now that you're a Christian, the highest goal is that you are a servant of the Lord in that workplace. You represent the Lord in that workplace. Ecclesiastes 3:13, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. Okay, our work is the gift of God, and enjoy it. Find satisfaction in your toil. Find some way that you rejoice in your, whether it's just the fact that you are providing for your family, the benefits that you have from it. This is the gift from God. Okay, so our work is our primary creation of wealth. Work is. That's the main way that your self-made millionaires became millionaires. Very few people become millionaires by playing the lottery. And most of those who play the lottery after they're done playing, after they get their big bonus, give them a couple of years and that money has been blown through, okay? It takes an incredibly self-disciplined, wise individual to be a lottery winner and then take that winnings and build a better future. Instead, they'll spend it on current toys and luxuries. All right, second reason to work is to please the Lord. Colossians chapter 3, 22 once again. That the slave is to be doing this, fearing the Lord, reverencing the Lord. This is as for the Lord and not for men. And so let's get a better attitude towards work, realizing that this is for the Lord. If your job has become intolerable to you for one reason or another, possibly the working conditions are such that you can't take it, can't handle it, you don't have the talent for it, you don't have the health for it, you don't have whatever, or the work situation is difficult because of coworkers, because of bosses, because it goes against your ethics, then move on. Find another place to work. Okay, but this as for the Lord and not for men, this identifies who you're doing it for. Whether therefore you eat or drink or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God. Okay, this also identifies who you aren't doing it for. Okay, this is not unto men, this is for the Lord. All right? Yeah, your boss assigns you something to do today, but and that's what he wants you to do today. Assume that the Lord wants you to do that today. If there seems to be a conflict between what he's telling you to do and your Christian based morals, then if you're a servant of the Lord, address it to the boss. Tell him, hey, because of my Christian convictions, I can't be doing this. No, sir, I'm sorry, but when you tell me, when a phone call comes in to tell people that you're not here, when you are here, that's lying, and that goes against me. Okay, that goes against my Christian convictions. Would you mind if I just say he's unavailable? Not lie and say you're not here. Just you're not available. That means you might be here, but you just can't take this call right now. Get this, folks. Just because somebody calls you does not make them your boss, does not make them your Lord. Now, I understand customer service, okay? I got business. I understand customer and pleasing the customers, but their demand is a request. Their demand is not a command. Okay? And so, I'm sure if I ask for a raise of hands, how many of you had phone calls from individuals who are pushy salesmen? Okay, it happens to us constantly where we have salesmen call us and they've got to talk to the decision maker. Well, I'm sorry, the decision maker's busy. And just because you might want to have us sell your widgets does not necessarily let us do this when we have time to do this, because whenever you turn over the reins of your decision making, you're no longer the business owner operator. Okay? And that's what a salesman wants to do, is to get you to turn over the decision making so that what they want you to do, you automatically do. That's what salesmanship is about. Okay? And then also in Colossians 3:22, with sincerity of heart, with singleness of heart, with one purpose, one simple drive, taking it seriously. Okay, sincerity of heart. Realizing that this is a serious matter. That you're pleasing the Lord. This is high priority, to be pleasing the Lord. Okay, so there's the verse once again. Fearing the Lord, reverencing the Lord, your attitude of respect for the Lord, that he is your Lord, he is your master. That other guy might think he's your boss, but really God is. And so you apply Bible principles to how you respect your boss, being an authority that is over you at this time. Okay? Why do you do a good job? Why? So you don't lose your job? So that you can keep that income, because you got to have a paycheck. Got to have that paycheck. That's the biggest paycheck I can get right now. Why do you do that job? Why do you do a good job? Is it because you want people to see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven? That's biblical. Okay? Find your why. Why do you do what you do? It needs to be for the Lord. You can have sub-whys, points of why, to provide for my family, to open up opportunities for the gospel, to and so you find your why, or so that you can get advancement. I'm going to do a good job here. Don't really like this job here, but if I do a good job at this, to whom much is given, much is required, and also to whom if little is given, but you do a good job with this little, you'll get a better opportunity. Why do you do a bad job? Why do you not put forth the best effort? What motivates you to do that? Usually that's selfishness. It's just, I didn't feel like it. I wanted to relax. I wanted to kick back. I didn't want to go home tired after the workday. I wanted people to have certain attitudes towards me. Find your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Your work ethic is motivated by something. What is that motivation? Is it a biblical motivation? Okay, whether therefore you eat or drink or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God. So that work opportunity is an opportunity to glorify God. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. This goes back to our early studies where we were talking about motivations for businesses. And businesses purposes, their mottos of why we do what we do. Some of them are customer service oriented. Christian businesses oftentimes have mottos and logos and purpose statements that reflect communicating Christ. Dedicate your efforts to God as service to the Lord. All right, we've already covered that in this study. Okay, the characteristic of Christians' work. Diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in forced labor. So being diligent will cause you to increase and prosper and grow and increase. Let me jump forward because I'm running out of time and there's something that I was wanting to get to. Okay, here. How to accumulate wealth. Going back to our beginning statement, God gives you the ability to gain wealth. How do you do that? Well, diligently work. That's the first form of income, is diligently work. And then second thing is don't waste. What you work, what you earn, be careful not to blow through it. A lot of people get a paycheck on Friday and by Monday it's gone. Don't waste. Be careful in your spending. And then develop wealth. Proverbs 21:20, the wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. Okay, so don't waste it, don't use it. Realize that some of that is for a future need. Your financial needs will change during the course of your life. But the earlier you start investing, the better off you'll be. The miracle of compounding interest. Okay, investing makes your wealth make wealth. Let me give you an illustration. Okay, there we go. What happens when your interest makes interest? Okay, I'm jumping to this because this came out like the 1st of July. And I mentioned it a week or two ago. Where the government is going to reward families who have babies in 2025, 26, 27, 28 or something. I don't know the exact details, but they're supposedly going to give families $1,000 to invest in that child's name. And so what happens if a family does that? What happens if you take $1,000 and you invest it? Okay, this is the miracle of compounding of interest. This Trump account thing. A lot of people say, I can't come up with $1,000 in order. Well, have a baby and you'll get 1,000. You'll spend more than 1,000 too. But nevertheless, if you just take that $1,000, and families should take advantage of this if they're in the baby making time of life. Take that $1,000 and invest it at 10% return. And this is for these children for 18 years. It's in that child's name. At the end of 18 years at 10% interest, you'll end up with $40,000. Okay, and you say, but the banks are only giving, you might get a CD for like 3.5%, 4% interest. Where do you get 10%? Invested in the S&P 500, the 500 best companies of America. You can invest that. This is not a business endorsement, however, I do use them, okay? Vanguard is a discount brokerage that you can go on your computer and from your home. You can open an account with Vanguard. You don't have to go to any other brokers. Those guys, they'll take a percentage of what you're investing. But with Vanguard, you can set up an S&P 500 investment, drop $1,000 in there, and that historically has provided more than 10%. Actually, kind of 11. Okay, yeah, the stock market will go up and it'll go down, and it'll go up and it'll go down hourly. Okay, that's what it does. So don't throw that card at me. Well, that's what it does. But when it's going up and down, it tends to go. And you're up here, even though you wrote all those up and downs. And in 10 years, historically, look at the numbers. At the end of 10 years with 10% raise, that child will have $40,000. Okay, and Trump is saying, hey, at the age 18, they can use that then. It's unlocked. They can buy a house or buy a car or whatever you do, whatever they need to do. And it's tax-free. Okay, tax-free. Well, what if the kid does a little bit of interesting thing and instead flips it at that point over into a Roth IRA? He doesn't have to pay taxes on it then. David, if I'm wrong, let me know. Our accountant in the room. Okay, he flips it over into Roth and just leaves it in the Roth. And when he hits 67, remember, this money was given to him when he was 0, okay? Just been hatched. Okay, age 67, that's what they say when I'll get my full Social Security. That thing will grow to $715,000. Okay? Just the miracle of compounding. Because that 40,000 that has grown to during that first 18 years, that's when the growth is the smallest. But if you take 40,000 and get 10% of 40,000, you're receiving $4,000 a year that year. And it compounds, okay? That's the miracle of compounding interest. And so whenever you get out to year 60, 62, 65, this chunk has grown exponentially until your return at age 65 is about $70,000 a year at 10% interest. Okay, so get this, 700, that's almost $750,000. Hello? Oh, so we throw it out the window and we don't do nothing and end up out there at 67 with no retirement? So, okay, with my illustration, okay, you're poo-pooing it. Okay, suppose instead of just putting $1,000 in, instead he puts in $2,000. He's got the $1,000 that given once by the government, and suppose grandma and grandpa they're looking at their death. I'll put $1,000 on my grandkids' account. So he starts off with $2,000. That boosts him, and so double that. Double 715. You got $1.5 million, okay, for that kid's. All right, and that is, but the baby doesn't ever have to work a day to do it. Hello? The baby doesn't have to work a day to do it. Now, the important thing, though, is to train up the child in the way he should go so that he doesn't depart from it. Okay? If he's around goofy people who think that you spend every dime that you earn, okay, you got to talk some sense into that child, because there will be plenty of people talking nonsense into that child. All right? So, you're sitting there saying, boy, I wish I would have done it. My mom and dad, well, Trump wasn't offering it when you were born. But nevertheless, the blessing of compounding interest. When should I start this? Yesterday? Well, yesterday's gone. Start today. The sooner you start it, the better off you are. All right? And so take advantage of those tax-sheltered things. Okay, I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax guy, though I try to pay taxes. Pay whatever is my, I'm not going to say fair share. Nothing fair about it. It's what they put upon me, what they vote upon me. All right, we're well out of time. Let's pray.